Everyone is getting more addicted nowadays. And I'm not just talking about substances. It's everywhere. We've reached a point where we need constant stimulation. We can't even sit down and eat a meal without needing to watch a video. We're overindulging in these habits, and it's dragging us toward a life we don't want, turning us into miserable people, destroying our potential, and just wasting our precious time on this earth. But here's the good news. When you break free from these destructive patterns, you avoid that dark path. On the other side of addiction lies productivity, confidence, ambition, and genuine happiness. I know you've tried to quit before. You've white-knuckled it for a few days only to find yourself back on day one again. It feels like an endless uphill battle. But don't worry, by the end of this video, you'll have the exact roadmap you need to finally get your life together and break free. But to fix the problem, we have to understand it. Addiction happens in our brain's reward system. When we do something pleasurable, like eating amazing food, playing a great game, or getting validation on social media, our dopamine spikes. This makes us feel happy and rewards the behavior. But here is the fundamental law of the brain. What goes up must come down. Once your dopamine hits that peak, it will fall. But it doesn't just stop at normal. It's like a rubber band. The higher you pull it up, the harder it snaps back down below baseline. When your dopamine drops below baseline, you feel awful. You experience tiredness, a total lack of motivation, hopelessness, and anxiety. It's that feeling when you just want to rot in bed for the whole day. But your brain hates feeling like that. It's in pain. So it screams for more instant pleasure to bring your dopamine back up as fast as possible. And what happens when you give in? You spike again, and you crash harder. This is the destructive cycle. It's an endless roller coaster of highs and lows. The faster you spike your dopamine, like with drugs or social media scrolling, the deeper the drop, leaving you with profound discomfort. That's why these things are so destructive. They train your brain to demand immediate gratification. This makes it almost impossible to enjoy activities with slow, lasting rewards. For example, reading a book provides a slow, steady dopamine trickle. If you're addicted to fast-paced video games, your brain is literally wired to hate the slow pace of reading. Usually, when people struggle with an addiction, let's say excessive gaming, people just tell them, just stop playing. Well, the problem is that whatever you're addicted to has become woven into the fabric of your daily life. It's as routine as brushing your teeth or taking a shower. You can't just remove a major block from your daily routine and expect everything to be fine. You need a strategy. Step 1 is self-awareness. You have to admit it's a problem. Some people say, I just game to relax. But if you're screaming at your teammates for 8 hours and neglecting your health, it's not relaxing, it's an addiction. Gaming isn't inherently bad, but it becomes destructive when you are no longer in control. For me, I used to be glued to my chair, frying my receptors and my mental health with competitive games. One day, I looked around. I had nothing going on, my body was malnourished, I was socially isolated, and I was miserable. I knew I needed a change. I started getting into working out. I didn't try to quit games cold turkey. I just spent more time exercising. I started learning about fitness. I realized I was getting my dopamine from the workout itself, the feeling of accomplishment and progress. This is the key. Replace. Instead of eliminating the habit, find an alternative source of dopamine. It needs to be something healthier. Something that raises your dopamine slowly. Think reading, yoga, learning an instrument, or just socializing with real people. Step 2, finding an obsession, the crowd-out method. However, simply replacing your habit might not be enough. Sometimes the addiction is too strong. Even when I was working out and reading, I'd still find pockets of time to sneak in a few hours of gaming. Everything changed when I started this YouTube channel. I set a huge goal. I became obsessed with growing this channel. I spent all my free time researching, filming, and editing. I was thinking about YouTube constantly. This crowded out the old addiction. I didn't have the mental space or the time to play video games. They just weren't fun anymore compared to the massive reward of building something real. So, find something to be obsessed over. It has to be a challenging goal, a new business venture, or a demanding skill. When your mind is consumed by your obsession, you won't even have the bandwidth to think about the old addiction. Step 3. Managing the urge. The happy memory technique. Even when you're obsessed with a new goal, the old urges will still pop up. A tip I personally use: do not fight the thought. Every time I get an urge, I never say, "Don't think about it, resist, resist." That never works. It only makes the thought stronger. Instead, I immediately think of a thought that makes me happy. For you, maybe it's a core childhood memory. Maybe it's a hilarious moment with your best friend. As soon as the urge hits, switch mental tracks to something positive. Try it. It sounds simple, but it works because the brain can't focus on two things at once. Step 4. Protecting your mental state. There will be days when you just feel bad. When our mental health is low, we naturally look for things that give us fast pleasure to make us feel less miserable. We use addictive things as a coping mechanism to escape. Feeling crappy is a result of poor mental health. If your mental health is generally strong, you won't feel the desperate need to escape to pleasurable activities. To stabilize your mood, focus on the foundational pillars. Get good sleep, meditate, practice gratitude, spend time in nature, and, of course, regular exercise. Step 5. Identity shift. Even after fixing my main addiction, I still struggled with smaller, more private habits. I realized something powerful. Whenever I was in the game of trying to meet someone and enter a relationship, my urge for certain behaviors completely disappeared. Why? Because I couldn't reconcile the girl seeing me as a potential partner with the version of myself engaged in those habits. I had to change my identity. If you identify as someone who is struggling to quit, you will always struggle to quit. You must identify as someone who already has their life together. Think about the ideal person you want to be. How do they act? What do they do in their free time? Strive to be that person today. When you act in alignment with your desired identity, quitting isn't a battle. It's just who you are. Step 6. You will relapse. You're human. When you relapse, it will feel like you've fallen all the way back to the bottom. But a slip-up does not mean starting over. Don't beat yourself up. Negative emotions are a fast track back to your addictions as a coping mechanism. Acknowledge the progress you made before the slip-up. Forgive yourself immediately. Then focus on extending that streak next time. You went 7 days sober? Awesome. Now aim for 14. I went from spending my life gaming and doing nothing to someone who is proud of the progress they've made. Quitting is not linear. It involves trial and error. The choice to improve your life is yours alone, but by following these steps, breaking those habits becomes achievable. I'd love to hear your strategies for beating addiction in the comments below. If you learned something new today, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.